Hi, everybody, and welcome to Breeders' Cup Focus. Dan Illman along with Mike Beer taking a look at the early contenders for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's throw up the list. They are ranked in preliminary morning line odds order. The odds compiled by DRF's Brad Free. McKinsey, the 7-2 morning line favorite in this race, despite having lost his most recent start, the Awesome Again Stakes, to Mongolian Groom, who is 10-1 on the morning line. Vino Rosso and Code of Honor involved in that controversial disqualification in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, 9-2, 5-1. Elate, the mare, is going to try the boys and this mile and a quarter distance at 6-1. Yoshida at 6-1. Mike, McKinsey holds on to the top spot, really not through anything he's done on the track, but probably because that no one else has grabbed the brass ring. Let's look at the last race for McKinsey. It's the Awesome Again. The horse is 1-5, and okay, Mike Smith might have been a little bit passive. Maybe he should have went to the front on the rail. He had the best early speed. He decided to stay outside. He conceded to Mongolian Groom, but McKinsey isn't finishing here.
Yeah, I don't see him having a big excuse in this race, even if you think he should have been on the lead. He still got a reasonable trip after a huge long shot on the lead. He never even really made it that close, Dan, and you know, you saw him sort of flashing his tail there in the stretch, which he has a tendency to do. The mile and a quarter distance is clearly not his best game. I think that makes him vulnerable. What he has going for him is he's got a lot of talent. He's got a great trainer, and this is not going to be the 1998 Breeders' Cup Classic. This is not going to be a very strong field.
Let's talk a little bit about the winner of that race, Mongolian Groom. He was kind of lost in the shuffle of that race despite winning it. Everyone was talking about McKinsey, the ride, the beat at a short price. Mongolian Groom is a nice, honest horse. I always thought he was a bit exposed coming into the Awesome Again, but he seems to show up and fire every time. Do you think the result last time out was just simply a situation where he got a clean trip, a nice, easy trip, and it flattered him?
I'm sure it had something to do with it. It helped that I think McKinsey didn't seem to run his best race there. You know, I mean, listen, he's improved in each of his most four recent races, so he has that going for him, and he's got good speed. The figure for the Awesome Again suggests that McKinsey might have run one of his best races in there. I find that hard to believe. This horse is going to be in the position now, I think, of having to prove that 110 is legit.
Let's go back to the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Vino Rosso against Code of Honor. Vino Rosso on the lead, on the inside. Code of Honor, your Travers winner, on the attack. And they're going to come together right here in mid-stretch. There's going to be some contact. It looks like Code of Honor right here has got the better of Vino Rosso. Vino Rosso is going to come back down towards the inside and gamely fend off the 3-year-old. Code of Honor has just improved, it seems, over the summer for Shug McGahee. This entire 3-year-old crop has been much maligned. Code of Honor is the one that stands out right now, and I guess a mile and a quarter, which is something that we were worried about at the beginning of this year, not a problem for him.
Yeah, he's shown in his last two races that you don't really have to worry about the mile and a quarter. He ran great in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, I thought. As did Vino Rosso. I thought they both ran really well. I think that was the disqualification, I think, is more of a problem, not because Vino Rosso didn't bother Code of Honor. I think he clearly did. It's just one of those situations they don't often adjudicate that in New York. But they decided to in that spot. That's a different story for a different day. Both of these horses have a real chance, I think, to win this race come November.
Let's talk a little bit about Vino Rosso. You've already made your opinions known. He's a strong contender, and I agree. Kind of underrated this year, hasn't he been for Todd Pletcher? I mean, he won the Grade 1 Gold Cup at Santa Anita out on the West Coast. He finished first in this race before being disqualified. I like the way Todd's handled him. He seems he's spaced his races out nicely. He's coming up to the Breeders' Cup in good form.
Yeah, I mean, and no small thing that he has that mile and a quarter win at Santa Anita in a Grade 1 already. I think that's something you have to really take into notice. I thought he ran fine last time. I agree with you that Pletcher's handled him really well, and he's clearly improved as a 4-year-old. He's a major contender in this race.
Elate is going to be pre-entered in both the Distaff and the Classic. Bill Mott is adamant he is going to run in the Classic. He really wants Elate to go a mile and a quarter. He feels that's her distance, and I agree. Let's be honest, though. This was an underwhelming final prep in the Juddmonte Spinster at Keeneland. Here's Elate. She has every chance to win this race, Mike, and Blue Prize is just going to come over the top of her. She's kind of grinding it out here. You've got a good 3-year-old filly, Dunbar Road, on the lead. But I would think that the Elate that we're used to would have finished and sealed the deal in here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, this in a lot of ways, this is just not a very good loss for her, a race that she probably should have won. And the real good Elate, I think, would have won. Listen, that wasn't the best Elate. We'll see if we get the best Elate in the Breeders' Cup, because if we do, it's not like she's in over her head, I don't think. We'll see about the 1.25 mile, Dan. I know that she's 3 for 3. A couple of Delaware handicaps where she just towered over the competition. I thought her Alabama was good. She's good at a 1.25 mile. Yes, I don't know if she's better at a 1.25 mile than she is at a 1.08 mile, though.
Flying under the radar quite a bit, perhaps because of recent inactivity, is Yoshida, listed as 6-1 on Brad Free's morning line. Let's go back to Yoshida's most recent race, way back at Saratoga in the Woodward, won by the now retired preservationist. He's on the far outside, and this is what Yoshida does. He comes with a good late run. A 1.25 miles, I don't think, is a problem for Yoshida. He's the kind of horse that might be a little bit pace dependent, but I also think he still might have one big race in him, and it could be the Breeders' Cup.
I agree with that. I thought he ran pretty well in that Woodward. We just looked at, there was not a lot of pace in that race, but he was making up ground. I thought he ran really well when he couldn't get to McKenzie 2 starts back. His dirt form is fine. He's got the figures. Maybe he catches a little pace. He's a very interesting horse, I think.
Let's throw up that list again. And remember, you can get all of the updated odds as well as Breeders' Cup news and notes on the DRF Breeders' Cup page, drf.com/BC. Anyone else on this list catch your eye? You've got the Pacific Classic winner, Higher Power, at 8-1, who had an excuse in the Awesome Again with a bad start. You've got the upwardly mobile Owendale, who's a really likable, hard-trying 3-year-old. May not be as good as some of these older horses, but as you said, it's not the 98 Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, I think you want to keep your options open, at least at this stage of the game heading into the Breeders' Cup. It's just not that strong a field. Somebody could easily jump up and just run a big race here, especially when you have McKenzie, who I think deserves to be the favorite, Dan, but he just feels like a very vulnerable horse in this race.
McKenzie, the 7-2 morning line favorite, very early morning line favorite on DRF Brad Free's morning line. We'll see if he can handle the distance and rebound off a disappointing loss at odds on in the Awesome Again.